Order for July 17, 2023. We'll go ahead and do roll call. We'll go to Commissioner Varnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield.
Present.
Go to Commissioner Long. Just like the record to show that Mr. Long took his oath last week, and he is up and running traffic commissioner. Mr. Hale is not available. Go to Commissioner Schuline. Go to Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
Mr. George is not available, and go to Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Thank you. Can I have a motion concerning the minutes of the May 15, 2023 meeting?
Motion for approval.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Varnell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schuline. Any discussion? We have a motion to approve the minutes from May 15, 2023 by Commissioner Varnell and seconded by Commissioner Schuline. Have your votes. Mr. Long,
He's still trying to log in.
Still trying to log into the system.
do you want to say yay or do you want to abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, he abstains.
Thank you.
Okay, item has passed with 5 in favor and 2 abstained. If you notice, 2B, there was no meeting in June. We go to item 3, reports from Traffic Services Division in the Counselor's Office. Mr. Chai?
All right, you've got our monthly report on yield and parking controls installed administratively, and you've got a, since we've started making reports on the reverse angle parking on Northwest 39th Street, Traffic Services Division has had the entire parking area remarked. There are no needs to change any signs, and I don't know if planning wants to contribute anything to a report for this month.
Yes, sir. If I could have your name and information, please.
Hi, Justin Henry, the Planning Department. You think you have some letters in your packet, kind of just detailing out some of the work that we've done since the last meeting you've had. We've gone out and we've measured the compliance rate a few times now. We're going to continue doing that, and probably with some more frequency as we get towards that 6-month deadline. We've also got some details in there about kind of the community outreach we've done, and we've been distributing flyers through some of the businesses there. We've also done some social media pushes on Facebook and Instagram, but happy to answer any questions you have about that.
Well, what's it looking? Does it look like there's more of a parking back in?
Yeah, we're seeing about 2/3 compliance, about
Okay.
65-67% so far that we've been measuring. Hope to get that up a little bit more, and it seems like it might be a little bit better during the daytime than it is at night, so we're still trying to kind of help with that outreach. We've had some businesses that have really been good partners with us on this.
A couple of things that I noted. At the beginning of this application, there was a little bit of rumor going around that the applicant would be moving, and apparently the applicant has moved, and the business has gone out of business, of course. That shouldn't change any of our efforts here, because I think this is an opportunity to really learn about how to educate. Are you aware of any differences in the contacts with the business district itself, the association?
So we've been working primarily through the Business District Association because we have that kind of relationship already. We had the same information about the original applicant has moved away. Again, we feel the same way, that we're just going to continue to see the process through as we agreed upon.
It was just important for me to mention that because Commissioner Varnell had requested that the applicant be brought up to speed on the.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, since he has moved away, we haven't had any more contacts with him. Yeah.
All right, anybody else have comments or concerns on that? Okay,
Thanks.
all right. Anything else, sir?
No, I have nothing else to add.
Okay, over to the Counselor's Office.
No reports from the Municipal Counselor's Office.
Thank you very much. We go on now to the consent docket. Is there anybody here to speak against item 4A, which is listed up on the screen? Anybody here speak against it? Okay, anything from the staff on 4A?
No, we're just recommending the item for approval as presented.
Okay, do we have a motion concerning the consent docket? Motion to approve by Commissioner Varnell. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Cornett. Any discussion on the consent docket? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Varnell, second by Commissioner Cornett. Can I have your votes, please? Item has passed with all 7 in favor. Okay, we move on to item 5, individual consideration items. 5A, Jimmy Kotz, Assistant Foreman, Cleveland County District 2, all-way stop control at South Douglas Boulevard and Southeast 179th Street. Anybody here to speak on this item? Staff?
Okay, you got your comments before you. What the applicant is seeking to do is to add stop control on Southeast 179th Street at its intersection with South Douglas Boulevard. It's not unusual or uncommon to have always stop control intersections at rural arterials. In this particular case, looking to the east on Southeast 179th Street from Douglas Boulevard, the available decision site distance is in the vicinity of about 250 feet, based on the posted speed limit on 179th Street, which is 50 miles per hour. Our site distance criteria prescribes a minimum required site distance of about 750 feet. The intersection itself, from a traffic control standpoint, does not meet any of the MUTCD warrants for considering always stop control. However, the limited decision site distance looking to the east from Douglas Boulevard would be reasonable cause to add stop control to the intersection. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
All right, can we have a motion for 5A?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Schuline,
Second.
second by Commissioner Varnell. Was it you? Who was it? Second. Oh, there it is. We sound alike. Commissioner Wynn, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Wynn. Any talk on this item? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Wynn. Votes, please.
I'm a yay.
Yeah, he's a second. Okay, item has approved with all 7 in favor. Go on now to 5B, Nikita Rovivama. No parking anytime restriction on the south side of Northwest 15th Street. The rest of the information's on our screen. Do we have anybody here who wishes to speak on this item? Sir, if I could have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Brockton Cameron. Address is 1632 Northwest 15th Street. To my right here is Nikita Ravi Varma. We submitted this request because of the traffic flow that happens on 15th Street, right in front of our house. Currently, the narrow streets in the busy plaza area, they get packed up, and we're not able to ingress and egress our driveway. We've also noticed a lot of near-miss accidents of people coming up and down the street, because when people park on both sides, it becomes a one-way road. So you see a lot of traffic congestion, you see a lot of near misses, people speeding up and down that street. So after the 3rd time of not being able to pull into my own driveway, that's when we started this process, trying to get no parking signs in front of our street. We're just requesting from 1644 up to 1632, and by putting no parking signs there on the south side, that'll increase our sight distance to our left when trying to exit our driveway, as well as hopefully help with the traffic flow during busy times in the Plaza District. They also shut down 16th Street just north of there periodically for their festivals, and it redirects traffic down our street. So if we could just make it a little wider and help with the congestion during those times as well. That would help out. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wanted to speak on this item? Okay, staff?
All right, you've got our full report before you. The applicant has provided a petition meeting the commission's policy demonstrating local support for the restriction on the south side of Northwest 15th Street. The requested parking restriction will decrease on-street parking opportunities for area residents and service providers sufficient for about 4 passenger vehicles. And 83% of the residents within the required petition canvass area signed the petition in favor of the request. So action will be at the discretion of the commission.
Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Commissioner Schuline. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Long. Any discussion on 5B? Okay, motion to approve item 5B by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Long. And can we have your votes, please? Item has approved with all in favor. Okay, we go on now to item 5C, Timothy Johnson, PE, President Johnson and Associates. 3 different sub-items, and they'll be listed up here on the board here in just a second. I'll wait till they come up.
Mr. Chairman, we've became aware of a protest, and so we'd like to continue this item so that we have a time to meet with the protestants and understand what their issues are, and we'll come back in a month if we can.
Okay. Counselor,
I'm sorry, for clarity, is this a 1-month deferral to like the August meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
if the people want to speak on this item, should we just wait till August or let them talk to the applicant and wait, or should we open it up for?
So is there people here today to speak on?
Are there people here that want to speak against this item and would like to have it on the record, or would you rather wait and talk to the applicant? Okay.
So we can do a motion to postpone
To defer.
specifically to the next meeting, or you can just postpone it indefinitely, and then we'll bring it back when it's ready.
Okay, well, we'll just,
And anybody
Postpone.
can make that motion.
We prefer to be set in August.
yeah, to move it on. Okay. I just want to make sure nobody else wants to speak on it and talk to us. And that everybody's okay with talking to the applicant. Okay, very good. So, can I have a motion concerning item 5C?
Yes, sir, I move that we continue this item until next month.
We defer the item to August. And that's by Commissioner Schuline. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Cornett. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion to defer item 5C to the August meeting by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Cornett. Votes, please. Okay, all in favor, 7 in favor to defer. Okay, we go on now to 5D, Timothy Johnson, PE Associates. 2 sub-items, and that's it right there. Mr. Johnson, anybody else want to talk on this item?
Yeah, these are items D and E are together, as well as the sub-items for item D. By way of introduction, Tim Johnson with Johnson Associates.
Yeah, so let me just read it in that
Okay.
way. So item 5E is Mr. Johnson also, and that's to change the speed limit on Northeast 4th Street between North Kelly Avenue and North Stornwell Avenue from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. And he's saying both of these kind of work with each other, so that way you can talk about both.
Thank you. And here with me today is Caleb Morgan from my office, who will talk in detail. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction. Our applicants are here, Mr. Bradshaw, Gina Sofola on behalf of Paige Woodson. And as many of you know, the Paige Woodson project has been ongoing for a number of years. It's quite an improvement to the area. And so we're in the process of constructing what we've called for phase 4 and 5. And as part of that, we wanted to get the parking, on-street parking added. That gives us room in the right-of-way to add sidewalk. And this is in conjunction with a ongoing project that Planning Department, we've met with Jeff Butler and Justin to talk through the ongoing ODOT-funded project along 4th Street. That's been going on for quite some time too. We met with a consultant many years ago. And then because we were changing the look of this property so much, we asked them to not come in and put retaining walls in as they did on either side of our property, which they did, to allow us to lower our grade to have storefronts on 4th Street. So this has been an ongoing process for a number of years. And we've been in conversation with Public Works and planning for a number of years. And so what we're bringing forward to you today is this request to create bump outs to slow traffic down. And as part of that, then the speed limit change is being requested as well. I know there's some folks in the audience that are in favor and supportive of this from our neighborhood. But I want Caleb, if you don't mind, to speak in detail to what's being proposed.
Good afternoon. Caleb Morgan, Johnson Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. As Tim mentioned, this is parking that's accompanying a proposed development north of 4th Street. And part of that, we're requesting reverse angle parking, and that's due to a bike lane that is anticipated in the area. What is happening is that currently 4th Street is 4 lanes, and we're reducing it to a single lane westbound, and then the south portion will be reduced to a single lane eastbound in the future. There's a coming project that's under development now. So this is kind of done in conjunction with the planning department as far as all that goes. And so the final product will have a single lane in each direction, a bike lane, and possibly parallel parking on the south side of the street. That's for that other project. And then we're requesting reverse angle parking. And that reverse angle parking is to make sure when vehicles pull out, they can see both ways and see the bikes that are coming down the street. We've studied a lot of different areas that have reverse angle parking, and we've modified this one a few times to make sure we got it right. And we've provided wider parking spaces. We looked at Tulsa. They recently released some standards, and we've gone along with their standards, and they're much more conservative than other places. So it's 11-foot wide stalls. We've provided ADA spots. There's 2 ADA spots on this reach of the parking to meet ADA requirements. We had to pair them together because there's some grade issues on the east block, so we kind of have them in one area. But we've discussed that with the staff. As Tim mentioned, there's a speed limit reduction. We've requested it to be reduced from 35 to 25, and that's to kind of slow things down as you go through those 2 blocks, because we're not only anticipating just the bike lane, but as Tim mentioned, that whole area has been brought down, and there's going to be a lot of pedestrian-friendly access on the front of those storefronts. So we're looking to kind of maybe slow down traffic. Eventually, we expect the whole reach will be 25 miles an hour. So that's what we have, and if you have any questions, be happy to answer it.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? So if I could have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Ron Bradshaw. I live at 625 Northwest 4th Street, office at 105 North Hudson here in Oklahoma City. I just want to speak briefly about the idea of what we're doing here and how traffic and the speed of the traffic affects what we're trying to do. We bought Page Woodson School, which was vacant about 10 years ago, and have redeveloped it into housing. And the rest of the land we have developed around the school has all been urban renewal land, which was a neighborhood. 4th Street was a neighborhood street. But then after it ceased to be a neighborhood because of all the various things that have happened in our history that we all know about, it became a series of just vacant lots. The only way you can redevelop an area is to get people who want to come there and live there. We've tried to build apartment projects there and bring it back into a neighborhood feel with street lights and sidewalks heavily landscaped. We've done this in really four phases. So this is the final phase, is what we're building, which will bring the total number of housing units to 500. We are not trying to build any more multifamily. We want to work to build single-family houses on the remaining lots that are in this neighborhood. We've had a lot of input and a lot of discussion with the neighbors. There's been all kinds of studies done by the Alliance of Oklahoma City, the Chamber, the Innovation District, and the neighbors have all speak out and want 4th Street to be more like it once was. Obviously, it won't be like it once was. It won't be a quiet neighborhood, but we need to make it a neighborhood street rather than a boulevard, which it is right now. If you let people go 40 miles an hour, they're going to go 45. If you let people go 30, they're going to go 35 or 40, and there's nothing to stop them. On this last phase, we have purposely introduced live workspaces in the bottom floors of the whole block between Stonewall and Kelly, so that we can start introducing commercial activity back into this neighborhood. We feel like we have enough living units there that will support this. So we need to slow the traffic down. We need to have street parking so that these small businesses we've got 5 that already issued letters of intent to us to occupy of the 12 that are being built, and so there is interest here, and we just need to keep it up. Our hope is that someday 4th Street from Lincoln all the way east will be 25 miles an hour because people want to be there, want to slow down, and want to see what's there. So the traffic is, I know I've never spoken here before but traffic is a part of development, and that's what I am. I'm a developer, and we need this. I think we need this very drastically in this neighborhood. So I appreciate your time and your reviewing this.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? Yes, ma'am. If I can have your name, address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Gina Schofela. I live at 717 Northeast 21st Street in Oklahoma City. I am the developer's rep. I work with Mr. Bradshaw and have worked extensively with Mr. Johnson and his group, as well as the city, and just concur with everything that they have said. One of the things, though, that I am bringing to you today, reiterating what Ron has said, and that is that we've worked extensively with the neighborhood and with various groups. One of the things that we have been very proactive with is reaching out to small businesses, and in doing so, we reached out to the independent shopkeepers and conducted focus groups. One of the executive director of the Independent Shopkeepers Association could not attend today, but had sent a letter, and I'm not sure if you got the letter and was able to distribute it or not, but will you read it, or I was going to read it. Okay, I was going to read it and bring that forth. This is from Cleo Nash. She said, I'm reaching out regarding an item being presented to the Traffic Commission this Monday. I was hoping to be able to attend and speak in favor of it, but unfortunately have a prior commitment. I can't reschedule. Since Commissioner's email address, et cetera, I'm going to jump right to it. A little over a year ago, the Page Woodson Development reached out to the Independent Shopkeepers Association to consult on the retail side of the project. From the start, they've been very passionate about ensuring the success of the retailers which will occupy the storefronts. Throughout this process, they've listened and planned for everything to make sure the future small businesses of Page Woodson are set up for long-term success. This request they are bringing to the Traffic Commission July 17th is a big part of that puzzle. As the executive director of the only organization in our state focused on independent retail and its challenges, I see the positive impact the lowering of the speed limit on Northeast 4th Street can have and strongly believe their request should be approved. As I'm sure you already know, the design of our streets and traffic speeds have an enormous impact on retail, specifically small businesses like the ones I work with, and those I hope will bring the Page Woodson development to life. As much thought and careful planning has been put into every detail of the design of the storefronts themselves, none of it will make much difference if the adjoining streets retain speed limits that are simply not business-friendly. We've seen it time and time again. Small retailers located on higher speed corridors do not see as much foot traffic as those located on business-friendly streets. While this doesn't impact national chains as much, thanks to their large buildings, large parking lots, and large signage, it does have the potential to make or break the small businesses who make our city more unique and enrich our communities both economically and culturally. Planner and urban scholar Richard Sennett rightly said, "You move through a space and you dwell in a place." When people start driving at a certain speed, they lose awareness of where they are. Our neighborhoods and districts are not simple corridors to move through. They are places for people to exist in and have a sense of community. This is not only benefits our day-to-day life, but also boosts foot traffic and in turn, sales for small businesses. Unlike big box chains who can successfully operate as islands, small retailers rely heavily on business-friendly speeds for safety, visibility, and foot traffic. Higher speeds can easily deter dozens of customers from visiting these retailers when they don't feel comfortable stopping to park, exiting their cars, or crossing streets. There's more to the letter. I will give you all the opportunity to digest that yourselves, but just let me suffice it to say that the work that has gone into creating this environment, including the reverse angle parking primarily for safety, so that we can cohabitate with pedestrians as well as cyclists. We've done a lot of work. We've looked at retailers. We've looked at how our residents, children, going back and forth, wanting to cross the street to Washington Park, which is a MAPS 4 project right now, receiving a lot of investment from the city. Our community has been saying to us, as we have been developing Page Woodson, that they want that traffic to slow down because for the safety of their children. So I just leave you with that we are in favor and ask sincerely that you consider approving this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 5D? Okay, we have a lady coming up. Ma'am, if I can have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Denavetta Davis, 721 North Kellam, Oklahoma City, 73117. I'm Denavetta, president of the JFK Neighborhood Association. As many of you know, we are still trying to rebuild our community after decades of blight. And so I ask that you approve both D and E. In our community, our boundaries are Northeast 4th to Northeast 8th, Martin Luther King to Lincoln. We have one business, one, and that's Culture Coffee and Bistro 46 combined. And so with the Page Woodson development, that gives us an opportunity for more businesses. But those businesses will not succeed if people are just passing by, zooming by, because nobody really pays attention to the speed limit now. And so, and also, we, right across the street, as Gina said, is Washington Park, $5 million in the MAP project. And so there's no stop sign, there's no crosswalk, there's no anything. And so safety for individuals who are living in the community to walk across the street, that's a safety issue. So we ask that you approve both D and E because it will help our community to continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak on item 5D? Okay, staff input, please.
All right, you've got a report before you. As noted, the applicant's proposing 45-degree angle reverse angle parking on the north side of Northeast 4th. They'll be doing this by reconfiguring the roadway so that it will wind up with having a single westbound lane and 2 eastbound lanes, with the curbside, the existing curbside westbound lane being incorporated to make up approximately half the perpendicular stall depth needed for the parking area. They're proposing a total of about 28 spaces. This will bring and they're providing 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled. On this particular block, this will bring the total to about 47 spaces. Therefore, the 2 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled appears to meet the ratios established by the ADA and other national publications regarding accessibility. Action on the item is going to be at the request at the discretion of the commission. And as noted, the applicant is using kind of a blended solution for this. They're using perpendicular stall depths. The city's working into its on-street angle parking standards, and they're proposing to use a wider stall width based on what the city of Tulsa has been using, apparently based on the drawings that they provided since about 2021. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on the reverse angle parking and reserved parking spaces for the disabled.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And this may be a question for you or Caleb. When discussing the reverse angle parking, what were the other alternatives that were discussed? Because I know there was.
Well, then, when we first saw the initial drafts for parking for this area, it's gone through several design iterations, but reverse angle parking has always been pitched as part of this project. It's not. It originally started out with reverse angle parking on the north side of 4th and parallel parking on the south, and that has since been changed. So now they're just strictly reverse angle on the north side, and they've switched over to the Tulsa standard for wider spaces.
And that's strictly because there's a bike lane going to be there, probably.
Caleb might be able to address issues relative to the bike lanes because I've
Right.
not been part of the discussions.
And I just struggle with reverse angle parking. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Right, so, and we've changed the design also to potentially reverse it in the future if we had to. So that was, we worked out with staff that option. So it's set up now to where it could be striped to reverse it or go 90-degree parking. So he hasn't seen a lot of the iterations we did. We did some in-house iterations with different parking styles, but the reverse angle parking is specifically to address the bike lane, to make it safer for the bike facilities. And on that note, I know that we're struggling on 39th Street, but it sounds like they're starting to gain compliance though. But Norman has just recently installed more reverse angle parking. They had good success with it, as well as Tulsa. So I think Oklahoma City will get there. It's just a matter of, educating the public.
And I think on 39th Street, we've had success there because we lowered the speed limit and we added the stop signs. That's why I'm kind of surprised we didn't try to put a stop sign here on maybe Kelly and Stonewall to slow traffic down too.
There will likely be stop signs added as part of the future improvements that are going to reduce a lane on the south side and parallel parking, and some of that's coming along with that park improvements. So there will likely be some changes to that effect, and at the addition of crosswalks.
Okay, thank you.
There was something as part of this letter that I just wanted to add in, just one paragraph. It says, I do understand a large part of the focus has been on the 85th and 50th percentile logic when looking at whether to approve this matter. However, I do not believe these perceived best practices have much room in the conversation when they only reflect the past and what Northeast 4th Street has been, rather than proactively preparing for the imminent growth brought by this development and future ones. Traffic should not be reactionary, but instead play an instrumental and active role in building the city and neighborhoods we want. Strictly focusing on the past could have devastating impact on the future of this development, its small retailers, and the potential growth of the neighborhood as a whole. So, all things that we know, but I think probably should be reiterated that this is totally different than the traffic study. Obviously, the traffic study is looking at past behavior, but that's something we should definitely keep in mind.
Do we have a copy of that for the meeting minutes?
Stuart was copied on the email that was sent to me, so I believe he can circulate that or add it to the minutes. I can send it to you, Mary.
Okay. Or we can just have that copy, or?
Yeah, or if we can borrow your copy, we'll just.
Okay, we just need to make sure the staff gets it,
Sure,
so
sure.
they can add it, okay? Is that your concern? All right. Okay, so we're done with our staff. Is it a question to staff in their
Yes.
comment? Okay, go ahead, sir.
So recognize the reverse angle parking, better for bike lanes, tier 1 facility, protected bike lanes, correct? How do these work? I don't even know. I've never seen how the reverse angle parking with a protected bike lane works? Do we just stop the protection in that area?
So in this area, it's, I believe, a tier 1 on the south side, and the north side is shared. So it's a mixed bag kind of. Of course, that's coming. It's not as part of this plan, but
Right.
yeah. So was your question how you protect it with the traffic norm or parking normally?
Yeah, just kind of wondering, well, there's a little bit of the parking normally. Obviously, with the reverse angle, you get a little better sight distance of
Right.
the bike lane coming by. So understand the idea, just didn't recognize how it would physically actually work with the protected bike lane, dropping the protection, allowing the parking. That's really my only question. on
Right.
that.
So, yeah, the north side does not have that full protection, although we have seen where they have the bike lanes that are just behind the parking. And so it's not a full tier 1 protected parking, but it is parking or bike lane behind parking. So in that case, that's why it's so dangerous, because you're just backing out into a bike lane, basically.
Right, makes sense. And the other question, and Caleb or Stuart, so one of the questions I had is you talked about how a future facility, we're going to add bike lanes, we're going to be narrowing up the street in the future and reducing the speed limit. When's the time frame for that, for like the entire corridor?
That I'm not sure. We've been told it's imminent, and in fact, the initial design of this project was coordinating with them to build the sidewalk as they came through, and apparently that's been pushed off, so I don't have a real clear time frame. Stuart, I don't know if you have one either.
He does.
Justin Henry from Planning may be able to share some information.
Sir,
Sure. So Northeast 4th Street is getting a street enhancement as part of MAPS 4. So the Innovation District Connectivity Master Plan called for the street to be narrowed there and have the bike lanes added, some additional landscaping and pedestrian improvements. It was recently moved from their phase 1 to their phase 2. It's still fully funded, but I would think that you'd probably be a little more than a year away from it being constructed.
So just to clarify, it's a fully funded project approved by council and everything, so there's no concerns that it's going to be anything different?
Correct.
Okay, that was my only big concern on this.
And Justin, before you step down, so is this supposed to be protected bike facilities, both eastbound and westbound on 4th Street?
Yeah, it was originally designed to be Tier 1. We have been working with the applicant, understanding that there was a need for additional parking for the commercial units being installed and for the district. So we've kind of been negotiating with the applicant for a while now to kind of find a facility that was a good compromise to kind of help everyone get to what they're looking for. Thanks.
so that means not a tier 1.
What's that?
That means not a tier 1 protected bike lane in this area?
Yeah, it is proposed as Tier 1. As mentioned by the applicant, this section of this 2 blocks, it would drop down to a Tier 3 for just these 2 blocks on the north side, and they would resume as a protected bike lane.
So there's no room, because the photos we saw of some previous reverse angle had the bike lane move, if I'm correct, move to the back of the vehicle by the sidewalk. So you'd have like a 3 feet, you'd have the sidewalk, a 3-foot bike lane, and then the reverse angle parking. Am I right? Is that something that was shown to us at some time?
That might have been one of the options being considered, but I think basically what we found there just wasn't enough space to accommodate that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because one of the things when we first looked at reverse angle parking, that was mentioned as the best solution for a tier 1 is to have, like here, it would come down the side, but then when it got to these 2 blocks, it would move to the right a little bit and go right down the sidewalk, or just to the roadside of the sidewalk, and then the parking would be to the left of it. And so you would park, get out, and cut across the bike lane and go to your sidewalk.
Right. Yeah, we have seen protected angle parking in some places. Tulsa has some examples of it. It is kind of dimensionally difficult because you kind of have to allow a bit of a buffer zone because of the angle of the cars. And then we typically want at least 5 feet for the bike lane itself. So it gets pretty, and given kind of the increased depth of angle parking that we have now in the new standards, it gets pretty tight
Right.
fast.
So it's not going to be tier 1 in these 2 blocks, and that's confirmed. What's going on the other side will be a tier 1 all the way across with parallel parking, possibly.
Correct.
And that's off of the MAP 4 issue.
Correct.
And then, like you're talking about, maybe some stop signs will come in to alleviate that concern. with some crosswalks. Because if you put stop signs, you can put crosswalks, and it's real simple.
Right, right.
Okay, so that's the eventual goal. So, and is it your office that's still, that's working the MAPS 4 project too, or no? Yours is?
Okay.
And is that part of the MAPS 4 project, is to make sure all that gets cleaned up on the road?
Yes, and I think you'll probably see a presentation from Kimley Horn that we have designing that in probably sometime next year.
Right. Which is fully funded and will be happening, it's already moved on to phase 2.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, is that what you were asking?
That's more or less what I was asking. Wanted to make sure we weren't getting the cart in front of the horse, you know, and approving this one that might predetermine what the rest of the corridor is going to be. If the rest of the corridor is already fitting in this, and I appreciate the work with staff and the consultant and the applicants to make sure that all works together, I think that sounds good. The only thing I'd say is it seems odd to do 25 miles per hour for 2 blocks when you have a whole stretch that is still going to be 35. So not saying that it's outside the purview of this development, obviously, of saying, hey, everything should be 35, but it's hard then that we have this plan that it'd be nice if it could move forward faster and tie up closer with it. But at the same time, it's hard to stop business at the same time.
Well, but that brings up a good point. It was mentioned that 4th Street is going to grow in the commercial development. Is that what was mentioned, sir? I think it was you that mentioned that eventually you would want more blocks to have more development. Is that what you were saying? That we would slow down, that we would want to slow down 4th Street longer in the near future maybe, or?
It would be, as a developer, I would think that I don't own any of that land. You know, as the applicant, I gotta be honest with you, I don't care if it's head end or back end.
Right.
That's not the issue here with me. And I'm not gonna be, I don't have enough money to develop 4th Street or nor does anyone that I know of, from Lincoln to Stonewall, so I can't tell you how fast that's gonna happen.
Oh, that's okay.
The only way it's gonna happen is if you stripe it that way initially. But then, on the other hand, ODOT came in and built these retaining walls all up and down the north side of 4th Street, which should have had storefronts in them, in front. So there's parking now. Parking is just gonna be abutting concrete walls, which is, as a developer, it's unbelievable that that's happened, but it's happened. And, but then that's probably not under your purview. But
No,
we're
that's-
caught in the middle of an inner city discussion about whether you have back end or front or head end. We don't care.
No, that's fine.
So the applicant is not the one pushing any of this, except for agreement amongst the city and the staffs. That's all we're trying to do.
Oh,
so
that's
we
fine.
go forward.
I thought I heard, and so I'm glad that it's now
Yeah.
been clarified, that you're not looking at anything more on 4th Street outside of this zone area.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
But
okay,
the
very good.
success of what we're doing is going to be very dependent upon the success of the development up and down the street. We feel like we're setting a precedence
Okay, I
that needs to be followed all the way through in order for it to successfully be developed.
Okay, thank you for clarifying it. Ma'am, did you want to actually say something more about this subject?
Monique Short, 1320 Oak Cliff Road in Oklahoma City. I am also a residential developer in this neighborhood. My brother lives 1 block over from the Page Woodson development and his family. And I also serve on the MAPS for Innovation District Committee. So in our last meeting that we had last week, this project, 4th Street, got moved back, in addition to what the gentleman said from planning, for some of these reasons. Future development is planned along 4th Street. The plan is to hopefully reduce the speed limit, all starting at Lincoln. But they knew this was coming to you guys, and they wanted to make it a cohesive plan. Instead of setting rules, they want to talk to the other developers in the area. So I don't think that reducing it to 25, I know it's a very short span right now, but the plan is for the reduction to go across the entire street. These 2 spots, reducing to 25, is really important at the moment. At Stonewall especially, when you come out of the neighborhood. Also, I don't know if you guys traverse this street very much, but coming from Lincoln, coming down to this spot is a pretty good hill. And so once you get to the belly where this development is across from the park, people can get up to speeds of 50 miles an hour inadvertently. And so I think reducing the speed limit helps a lot. We also suggested hanging lights that encourage people to notice that the speed limit changes at some point when we were in the MAPS 4 discussion about 4th Street. So I think the overall project was put on pause so it could be more cohesive and take care of most of the development that's coming in the future. But it is a part of the plan to get it back on the project in the next 12 months.
Ma'am, if you could fill out one of these for me,
Yes.
please?
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, thank you. Okay, so any other questions to staff or anything about this item?
Yeah, the last thing I'd just say is I'm not a big fan of the reverse angle parking just because familiarity with Oklahoma City YINS, whatever our term is not there. And it's growing and we're getting better on 39th Street. I would be more open to the idea of doing normal angle parking. I think angle parking along this corridor makes a lot of sense. Have some kind of frontage parking there. I think until we get the bike lanes there, then we can start talking about whether we need to do the reverse angle parking or just regular parking. And when the bike lanes come in, if you guys are already building the curbs to accommodate either one, it's a restriping effort, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be my thought, that until we figure out what kind of tiered facility of bike lanes we're putting on there, and when that whole project gets done, then we can figure out how you actually need to park in there. That's just my thought.
It is a bike corridor currently. It's not striped as such, but it's a bike corridor and people use it that way. I think what the risk that you run is, one, giving up the opportunity to have reverse angle parking and have people get used to it in another area of our city. That was the whole discussion with 39th Street, is that people aren't aware of it because they don't see it anywhere else other than when they go to 39th Street. So the more opportunity we have to expose people to it, the more people get used to it, the more people will get comfortable with it, and that can be part of our landscape. The second thing is that if we stripe things in a traditional angled parking way, then switching it to reversing is setting us up for failure in the future, where people are like, wait, hold on. I thought last time I came here, I got to pull in front end. Now what am I supposed to do? And so then if we already start that muscle memory of backing in right out the gate, as soon as those developments come in, I think you're setting things up for success, versus on 39th Street, whenever they restriped everything, people weren't used to the back end and we had to retrofit.
And I agree that definitely you want to set people up for success, but I also think that if we're going to go through and then put in these bike lanes, that's the restriping effort. That's the whole new thing that's going on, that they can see, oh, there is something different what I'm doing with this parking too. So for me, and I'm going to assume this motion is going to fail, but I'm going to go try it. I would have a motion that approving it with regular angle parking would be something that makes sense, with the understanding that they've already done the design to have this set up that it can go to reverse angle parking when the bike lanes are put in. So that'd be my motion.
Well, and we're at that point. No. You have reverse angle D. So, any other questions for staff on their input? No? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion for item 5D.
Motion to approve with regular angle parking, or do I say defer this more? Like, I'm not positive exactly the.
We have not done a motion. Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Okay, so we have a motion to approve item 5D by Commissioner Wynn to modify to make it regular angle parking, not reverse angle parking. And that's for items 1 and 2. Do we have a second?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we vote that down, then do we get to vote for reverse angle parking?
If the motion is denied, we can offer for another motion.
Okay.
Yes. But it first has to be seconded. Do we have a second? Okay. We do not have a second. Oh. There's a second from you? Oh, okay, sorry, didn't hear that. Oh. All right, yeah. All right, so a motion to approve with modifying it to regular angle parking by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Varnell. Okay,
It would be a motion to amend it,
it's amended.
to read
Okay.
it that way.
Motion to amend. And once it's amended, then we have to vote on it?
If it passes, then you would vote on the amended motion. If it fails, then it goes back to the original motion.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, just to clarify that, this is a motion to amend the item, and if the amendment is approved, then we have to vote on the item that's amended. Okay, got it? All right. So any talk on item 5D, the motion to amend this item? And who all wants to talk? Somebody's pointing at everybody. Ma'am, did you want to come up and talk? Yep, you've already given me your name and information. Please limit to 5 minutes.
While our primary goal is to get parking and to get it done safely and to accomplish realize all of the work that we've done, amending this does impact our bottom dollar. We've got budgets, we've got them set forth, we're moving forward. We now, if we amend this and our designers have to go back, redesign this, resubmit it, costing the developer more money.
And ma'am, just to clarify, it was my understanding, it was designed to allow us to switch to a regular with just a restriping. Is that right, sir? Is that what you said?
It is designed that way, but we would have to relay out the plan and reverse things to make sure it's all dimensioned and laid
Right.
out correctly. So it is, we wouldn't have to adjust any curb lines, we would have to adjust some of the plans.
Okay, I understand. Striping. Yes, sir, Mr. Jones.
Excuse me, I would like to add something. So this is, as I mentioned in my opening, is that this has been discussed now for a couple of years. And I know planning's not being very strong on their voice, but planning is very strong about the reversed ankle. It was the planning department's wish to have this as a reverse parking as part of the plan for the bike lane in the future. And by the time our project's finished and striped, the other project will probably be under construction. So although our project's moving quickly, there's still a lot of work to be done. And they're going to dovetail a little closer than I think a year as kind of projected. But anyway, I just want to make sure I'm speaking on behalf of both the planning department, our developer, and the neighborhood about keeping a safe bike trail. So.
Okay. Any other talk on the motion to amend item 5D? Okay, we have a motion to amend, changing it to forward parking 5D by Commissioner Wynn, seconded by Commissioner Varnell, and we're ready to vote now. Now, I'm waiting. Why am I wrong? Here we go. Okay, the motion to amend did not pass. So, and it's 5 against 2 for. So can I have a motion concerning item 5D?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve 5D by Commissioner Cornett. Do we have a second?
Got a second?
Second by Commissioner Long. Any discussion on this? So the key is to get it in, get the reverse angle going, work on the other side of the street, and everything else going in that area. Possibly stop signs, possibly striping for crosswalks to handle some of the concerns, and all that's going to take a little bit of time. Is that where we're at? Okay? Anybody else? Did you want anything, sir?
I really tried not to push my button to talk about this because everybody knows how I feel about the opportunity for reverse angle parking, the reasons for it, all the elements that justify it. Holding off on these kinds of projects that are contemporary thinking, forward thinking, involve the safety of all different kinds of transportation, which is pedestrian and bicycle and vehicular. It just doesn't make sense to me to prolong that decision when the opportunity is really here and now. And the litmus test for me is the reports that we're getting from the 39th Street District, which is a very, very difficult place to have applied for that. And we're very, very close to that 70% number that we're looking for there, which I believe by October we will have. So I don't see any reason to take this kind of an application this way and then bring it back this way and then take, back and forth. Let's just do it and get the public educated, which there's excellent education going on 39th Street. And I think what's going on 39th Street is going to evolve into safety and traffic and bicycle safety program for this city that I think we'll be hearing about very soon. So it's educating people, it's solving a lot of problems, and I see no reason really to delay it. I wholeheartedly support this and the work of these folks.
Okay, any other discussion on 5D? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5D by Commissioner Cornett, seconded by Commissioner Long. Can we have your votes, please? And a second. There they are. Item 5D has passed with all 7 in favor. Okay, we go on now to 5E, Timothy Johnson again, to change the speed limit. We already read that in. We've already talked about it. Staff, do you have anything extra on this item?
Really nothing to add. You will note that there is a speed study that was conducted as part of the case. Now, granted, the study is based on current conditions where with Northeast 4th Street being a 4-lane roadway, it's currently posted at 35. We've observed that about 25% of drivers are adhering to the 35-mile-an-hour limit. We're running 50th percentile speed is running around 38, and our 85th percentile speed is around 43. During the speed study, we did observe one driver traveling as fast as 60. Currently, about 2% of drivers are traveling 25 along this particular corridor. We did use both the NCHRP method and the Bella Light method for trying to predict a reasonable speed limit for the roadway, and both of those studies would indicate that any speed limit probably between 30 and 35 would probably be most appropriate. So action on the item is going to be at the discretion of the commission.
And that speed study was a 4-lane road
and
curve
4-lane
with
and
sidewalk.
3-lane, yes.
And 3-lane, right?
Yes.
Whereas it's going to become a 2-lane.
That's-
Well, I mean, but that would affect the math numbers for the study.
It could, but at the time
Right,
we
of
prepared
course.
our studies, we weren't aware that
Mhm.
2-lane was
No.
coming.
And that's what was mentioned in the letter, am I right, ma'am? Ms. Cornett, that's what you were talking about, that even though their study shows this, it's a 4-lane, whereas we need to also think it's going to be a 2-lane with the bikes. Well, Mike.
We don't wish to be reactive. We want to set the standard for what that traffic looks like going through that neighborhood and that business district.
Okay. All right, do we, anybody, okay. Can I have a motion concerning 5E?
Move for approval.
Move to approve by Commissioner Cornett. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, where'd that one come from?
Sorry.
Oh, you do sound alike. That's from Commissioner Wynn. So we have a motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner. Any talk on this item, on the speed?
Just a quick talk, and what Commissioner Varnell had brought up is something that is making the 39th more successful and hopefully all the way successful is the introduction of stop signs there that I think are getting people to get to a point and stop and think about it more. Not saying that it has to be part of this reduction of speed, but when do we start talking about adding stop signs on this corridor as well? Just a question, and not saying I want to amend another one, that's not where I'm at today, but just
but I think what we talked about was when the MAPS 4 project gets going, that's going to be all part of it to really slow things down and make people stop, and you're going to have maybe cross walking traffic, so we need to set up a place for it with am I right? Is that what you're all thinking? Yeah. So, yep. Okay, any other talk on item 5E? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Cornett, seconded by Commissioner Wynn, and votes. Item has passed with all 7 in favor. Okay, we go on now to 5F, Kara Bowerman, traffic signal at North Pennsylvania Avenue and Northwest 198th Street. Do we have somebody here to speak on this item? Okay. Staff, can we have input?
Okay, you've got our comments before you. This particular location does not meet any of the MUTCD requirements for the use of a traffic signal. One of the reasons for submitting the request was in reference to pedestrian crossing activity. We did do an extensive study during after-school times, and we noted that there were a total of 42 pedestrians that crossed during the afternoon. We would be looking at in excess of 100 pedestrians to cross during the course of an hour in order to meet the pedestrian, either the school pedestrian or the standard pedestrian crossing warrants. So at present, the intersection does not meet any of the criteria for use of a traffic signal. Should the commission approve a request for a signal at this intersection, the approval needs to include roadway widening for a dedicated northbound left turn lane on Pennsylvania Avenue for safer left turn access to Northwest 198th Street. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
Do we have a motion concerning 5F? We have a motion to disapprove 5F by Commissioner Littlefield. Second by Varnell. Any discussion on it?
I'd like to ask a question on
Yes, sir, go ahead.
that particular deal. What currently, do they have any type of traffic regulation devices at that intersection currently?
Yes, if we could have.
If they've got a four-way stop.
Currently at Northwest 198th Street and North Pennsylvania Avenue, no, Pennsylvania Avenue has a right-of-way. 198th Street is a side street, so it is stop controlled. There is a button-activated pedestrian flasher that is at a crosswalk that's just on the north approach into that intersection. So right, and aside from that, there is a school zone that belongs to the city, well, to the Edmond School District, and it's built by the city of Edmond. And it reduces the speed to 25 when you're at a point north of 198th Street, closer to their Heartland Middle School and their Frontier Elementary School.
That was what I was gonna, no, are you gonna keep going?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
currently, so there's not any type of traffic device between, other than the school zone, between 192nd and I guess that would be 206th Street, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there, so, like you said, the speed limit for the school zone starts north of this, and that was mentioned in the letter as well, and that was installed by the city of Edmond. Do we have any purview to extend that into this intersection where people are slowing down before they get to, like, the whole point of this is that we're trying to slow it down for the school zone, like when that's active? So is there any way we can actually do that, or is that a city
The
of
only
Edmond?
concern would be people leaving the neighborhood turning left wouldn't know they were in a school zone. If you put it to the south.
Sure.
Because I thought the same thing, and I was like, well, we could put it right there at the crosswalk, but then you got multiple signs, because you got the crosswalk sign, and then you'd have the school sign. And if you go any further south, then that people leaving the neighborhood turning left wouldn't know. So that would be, either they'd have to put in a second school zone sign. You know, if we put that one, see, there it is right, there's another picture, the next picture, I think. One more. And if you go further south, say 100 feet, to say, okay, you got to slow down to 25, we got this whole school thing coming up, we'd have to also put one exit in the neighborhood.
Sure.
And that would come, I'm sure Edmond would probably want us to do that. I mean, that would be up to the staff to work with Edmond.
Well, it would be up to Edmond to do, because currently they control the programming for the flashers, so we wouldn't have any involvement in its installation. because we'd have no control over it.
So we could make a request to Edmund to say,
We could
move
certainly-
the one, 100, whatever the right number is, south of that intersection, and then also correctly identify exits from the neighborhood.
We can pass on information to
Right.
Edmond Schools about that, and the city of Edmond. Yeah, we'd be happy to do
I've
that.
got one more question.
So is that what you were thinking, sir?
I've
You
got
wanted-
one more, I know on the south side, let's go down to South May Avenue between 119th and 134th. Right there south of Early Wine Park. There's a school zone down in that particular area that goes on for 2/3 of a mile. And it has multiple streets that exit out on both sides of May Avenue. And the way that people see that, there's flashing lights on both sides of the sign.
Oh.
If that makes any sense. And so I didn't know if that would be an option here. Hey, I'm exiting out off one of the side streets onto the arterial street, and, okay, I can tell it's on, because
Because
the
it's
sign's
flashing.
lit
That's a
on
good
both
point.
sides.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Okay. That might be sufficient with staff and admin. Okay. So that's one of the things. And then the second thing is that she says in the letter that it's not really clear and strong signal, those yellow flashers. Could you maybe send somebody out to check and make sure they're clean and as bright as they can be?
Well, that's an LED enhanced sign, and the LEDs on those are naturally small. So there may be times a day when it's difficult to see, but we'll make sure that it's functioning.
Yeah, make sure it's as strong as it can be and as good as it can be. Okay. Okay, any other talk on item 5F? We have a motion to disapprove item 5S by Commissioner Littlefield, second by Commissioner Varnell, and we're ready to vote. Yeah, I was like, you made the motion, dude. Would you like to adjust it? Would you like to adjust it?
allowed to take that back.
Ma'am, could you please?
Is it necessary?
Yes, and she'll do it. She'll fix it. There it is. All right. All right. Oh, well, she has you an X.
That's almost as bad as talking about the wrong item.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you did that. Okay, so are you changing that to a check mark? Because right now it's an X. Let's see. Let's make it right. Look at that. Okay, so item has passed with all 7 now in favor. Okay, comments from citizens. Okay, reports from other commissioners and stuff. Commissioner Varnell.
None for me, thanks.
Nothing for you. Commissioner Littlefield.
Specifically in Ward 2, on Northwest 56th Street, between Western Avenue and Military Avenue, Oklahoma Natural Gas had been in there over the summer replacing all the gas lines and decided to remove all the no parking anytime signs as well on the north side of the street. For about the 85th time, if we could get those back up, it would be really appreciated.
Okay.
Can we send a bill to ONG?
We can send one.
Yeah, but then we have to pay for it later.
Yeah, they are done. The work is completed, though. I want to make that clear. So it's time to revisit those. And then the only other comment that I want to make is I've been involved and invited into a couple of really, really interesting discussion groups over the past couple of months about, in particular, trying to look at everything we talk about here with this reverse angle parking and with bike lanes and vehicles and so on. I know that we keep bringing it up every few months about education, people understanding how they work. You know, we've got different kinds of bike structures, and they'll go a block or two and change to another and then change to another. And the consensus in the group of people that are having this conversation is education. And, you know, finding funds to put together an educational program. And I think what's so great that I sort of touched on earlier today was what we're doing on 39th Street with this outreach in this very particular zone and the impact that's having. The lesson is education, especially when the effort is to change the old to something new that's supposed to be safer and better or more efficient, we can't just make those changes without educating people on how to participate in them. So I hope to see something coming from that. I'm getting a little bit of the Vision Zero. You know, I know that you guys will be making a presentation on that maybe sooner rather than later. So it's just after all of these years, it's just come to my attention so clearly that calming traffic is the condition that the driver sees in front of them. It's not the signs. It's not the stop signs. It's all that mumbo jumbo. It's like, what do I feel safe going? And if I've got cars parked on this side and cars parked on that side and trees and a narrow street, I'm gonna automatically probably drive slower. So anyway, I keep saying that, but that's a goal before I'm gone.
Thanks. All right, thank you very much. Go to Commissioner Long. Welcome.
Thanks, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Sorry I was running a little behind today. I promise it won't happen again. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Okay, go to Commissioner Schuline.
The officers in Heritage Hills have requested respectfully some selective enforcement on their traffic, particularly the people running stop signs. I know they have, I think, you know, in Robinson and Chartel and of course Walker, where Wilson School is, but that'd be appreciated if you could, Captain.
Sure, absolutely. Go over to Commissioner Wynn.
I just want to mention, looked at the ASAP website recently, done a great job on it. It looks really great. So just want to make sure to bring that up, that if you guys haven't had a chance to go look at it recently, it's looking really fantastic. So appreciate that.
And Commissioner Cornett.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we have any update for LPI software, when that program is going to get back up and running.
That is a great question.
Thank you.
Sorry. That is a great question, one I wish I could answer. To be quite honest, we're having issues with our current signal manufacturer. I mean, we're having a lot of orders are going through, or we've placed a lot of orders, and they've been slow to respond. I'm not sure when they are going to come out with a new version for their operating system software. I really can't tell you. I don't have a feel for it.
No, I appreciate that. And then just to piggyback on Commissioner Littlefield's comment, there's just this concept that the majority of our driving time, we kind of just zone out, right? Whenever you're getting from one place to another, and then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, I don't remember any of that drive. I was thinking about X, Y, and Z. And it's because we've slipped into this default method of driving, and you're not alert and you're not paying attention. But whenever you do have traffic calming methods, that's whenever you feel like I need to be on point. I need to make sure that I'm paying attention. And things like what we did today of there's a totally different type of parking here, and there eventually will be stop signs, and there are bike lanes, and the street narrows. That is what provides that opportunity for somebody to take a beat and say, oh, wait, hold on, I need to be aware that there may be people around. And it's really beneficial for especially an area where we're trying to foster a retail environment or pedestrian activity or cycling friendliness. It's a really good move in the right direction. So, well, yeah.
We'll be on them all day. It's almost bizarre that the slower you're forced to drive a vehicle, the more attention you're forced to pay. That's a phenomenon. It's, you know, if you're going 75 miles an hour down the turnpike, now there's even cars that'll do it for you while you take a nap. You know, so no, that's a fascinating way of putting that. I had not heard it put that way before, and I appreciate that. It's the absolute truth. The other thing that is a good argument for the effort to calm traffic is to be proactive and supportive of mass transit and bicycling and the other forms of transportation that can take the place for the people that they can't go 75 miles an hour through a neighborhood. So it's a big network that we're working on. But I like the way you put that. Thank you. I'll save that.
Okay. Captain, anything?
No, nothing today.
Okay, thanks for your help, sir. Counselor, any last minute?
No, sir.
Okay, staff, anything else?
Well, just to comment on Commissioner Cornett's comments, talking about checking out while you're driving. That's usually an indicator of a well-designed system, if you don't have to pay that much attention to what's going on, because the road is built for the correct operating environment.
So then you need to do a worse job then, right, Stuart? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that I need to do a worse job, but thank you.
If you were an auto driver, yes, that is true. If you were anyone else who has to interact with that street, that is not good for you.
All right, a lot of good stuff today. Thanks, everybody, for your time and efforts and open communication up here. We say what we feel, and it matters, and it's good that we can do that, and we'll still shake hands. How's that all sound? All right, anybody else have any other business? Okay, we're adjourned.
Did you break it?